Hey everybody, it's your girl Shannon, and this is Shannon On Demand, where we show you how to take demand of your business to demand a better life. All right, guys, once again, I'm coming to you with another video because of frequently asked questions regarding nonprofit organizations. So here, according to what my consultations have shown, are going to be 7 questions that are frequently asked. One of the questions that I get asked repeatedly is, what is the difference between a nonprofit organization and a for-profit company? Well, one thing that I do want to stress about a nonprofit organization, nonprofit does not mean that you're not making a profit. No, that's not what that means. Nonprofit means what you do with the profit is different. When you have a regular company, let's just talk about an LLC, for instance. Once all of the bills are paid, you make the decision as far as what you're going to do with what's left over, which is your profit, right? Okay, you could either reinvest it into your company, you can buy equipment and supplies, go on vacation. I mean, it is totally up to you what you're going to do with your profit margin. Well, when dealing with a nonprofit organization, you don't have a choice. Once all the bills are paid and you're looking at what's left over, which is your profit margin, that money has to stay in the organization. Okay, so none of that money goes into your pocket. None of that money goes to your benefit. Because after all, a nonprofit was created, right, to do some good within the community. Okay, and there are guidelines, regulations, and rules that you must abide by. Okay, so that's the big difference, that your profit margin cannot go in your pocketbook, okay? Another question that I get most often is, what must I file every year? Well, 2 things. The first thing is, regardless of what state your nonprofit is domiciled in, you must file annual reports with your local Secretary of State. And basically what that annual report is going to do is to just let your state know where you are. Are you in the same location? Have you changed your location? Are your board members the same? Okay, so please make sure that you're filing your annual reports. Okay, the next thing that you have to do is file what's called Form 990s with the IRS. Now, before you guys start losing your minds now, you're not filing taxes on any income that comes in. However, the IRS does require that you file some sort of Form 990 every year. The Form 990 that you're going to file is going to be solely dependent upon the amount of money that your organization brought in. So you could file from, let's just say you're filing a Form 990N, which is the e-postcard, the 990EZ, or the 990 long form. Totally dependent upon the amount of money or the amount of revenue that the nonprofit brought in. Now, I'm going to put this disclaimer out there that if you fail to file those 990s for 3 consecutive years, then guess what's going to happen? The IRS is going to say, you know what? You're not serious about this 501c3. You're not doing anything with this 501c3. So therefore, we're going to revoke your status. And I can't begin to tell you the phone calls that I get on a regular basis from nonprofit organizations needing me to get them reinstated again because they did not file those 990s. Okay? So remember those two things, filing the 990, and please make sure that you're filing the annual reports. The next question is, can I operate my nonprofit in another state? The answer to that is yes. Okay? You need to decide though if you're going to be operating in both states simultaneously or in multiple states simultaneously, or if the organization is moving from one state to the next. Okay, have a board meeting. That is first and foremost. For any changes that are going to be made to your nonprofit organization, you must first of all hold a board meeting. The board is going to vote on it, and then you take action depending upon the outcome of that board meeting and by board resolution. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is, if the organization is going to be operating in both states simultaneously, then you're going to have to file what's called let's do business in that state. It's a foreign qualifier that you're going to have to file. So basically, what you're doing is you are asking for permission to operate in that state. And also remember that if you're going to be operating in more than one state, that it is your responsibility to make sure that you are remaining in compliance with state regulations in both states, right? Now, if you're literally moving the nonprofit to another state, then what you need to do is to first file articles, right, in the new state, and then dissolve it in the other state, right? So that's where having a board meeting is going to come into play, so that you'll know exactly what it is that you're doing, so that you can file what needs to be filed in each state. And one other thing that I really want you guys to remember is that in each state, there are different compliance issues that you must, know about in order to solicit funds. You're going to be doing fundraisers. So you're going to be soliciting funds, right? So make sure that you know what those rules and regulations are in each state as it applies to how to go about legally soliciting funds in that state. Another question, how do I dissolve my nonprofit? I don't really like to talk about this too much because I'm a proponent of nonprofit organizations. But if you have to dissolve, again, hold a board meeting. You guys need to discuss why you're dissolving it, and by board resolution, agree that that's the best thing for the nonprofit to dissolve. And remember that any monies that are left over once that organization is dissolved does not go into your pockets. Usually when nonprofits are dissolving, and if there are any funds left over, they're usually donated to another 501c3 organization. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. But once we've had the meeting and it has been discussed and approved by board resolution that dissolution is necessary, then articles of dissolution is what you need to file with your local state. Okay, another big topic of discussion and questions that have been asked to me, can I get paid? Can I get a salary? Yes, you can. But if you are serving on the board, can you get paid because you're serving on the board? No, you can't. That is a voluntary position. However, if you do provide a service to the nonprofit, then yes, you can be paid for that service. Different services would be program coordinator, executive director, that sort of thing. But once again, you have to hold a board meeting, vote on your level of compensation, because you can't just say, I want to get paid this amount. Okay, especially if your organization really can't afford to pay you and your salary is going to come out of a grant. which is a whole nother topic in and of itself. But to answer that question, yes, you can get paid. And I really do think that we're going to have a video that's going to come up really, really soon, just talking about how to get paid. But yes, you can get paid. Another question that I get asked is, how do I go about changing the address of the nonprofit? Now, we're not talking about, going from state to state. We're talking about in the same state where you're domiciled, okay? If you need to change the address, once again, that's where filing your annual reports come in. Make sure that any changes, like we were talking earlier in the video, any changes that need to be made, that's where you do it at the state level. But what about with the 501c3? How do you go about doing that? Filing those 990s, you have to put an address on that. So that is going to update the IRS to let them know where you are. Okay? So remember that. Now, as you guys know, I assist nonprofit organizations with obtaining their 501c3. And so once we get the application submitted and they're waiting, which means that they're now pending their 501c3 status, the big question is, can we accept donations? I would recommend saying no, but if you must accept donations, you have to remember to let them know, let the donors know that you're pending your 501c3. Okay? Because if for some reason you're not approved, and by the way, nobody that I've assisted have not been approved, just thought I'd put that out there for you. But if for some reason you're not approved, then guess what? You can't accept that money. But when you are approved, as all of my clients have been, once you are approved, then guess what? Your 501c3 tax exempt status is retroactive back to the date that you originally filed your articles with your state. So technically, you've been a 501c3 the entire time. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that great news? Okay? So yes, you can, as long as you're transparent, letting them know that your status is pending. Now, for every donation that you receive, you have to give them proof of the donation, which is technically just a letter on your company's letterhead stating how much they gave you and the date that they gave it to you, right? But by you not being a 501c3 yet, technically you cannot give them that letter until you are approved. And just as an aside, remember we were talking about fundraising and that you have to apply for solicitation in states, right? You have to be a 501c3 in order to do that. So technically you can't do any fundraising until you get your 501c3. But if you insist again on accepting donations, then just make sure that you let the donors know that your 501c3 is pending, that you haven't been approved yet. Well, guys, I think we've covered the gamut of questions that have literally just, come across my desk as I do consultations with various clients. But if you have questions regarding your nonprofit, how to start a nonprofit, what needs to happen, or if you just have questions in general, you can always go to my website at www.shannonondemand.org and request a consultation. All right. And look, before I forget, subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so that you know every time we're uploading a new video. You can always leave us a comment, share, just let everyone know that we're here. And we just thank you for, just tuning in and sharing these few minutes with us. We hope that you were able to get some really, really good nuggets regarding nonprofit organizations. And this is Shannon On Demand out.